For if you're someone whose home didn't sell during the holidays, you're frustrated, you're ready to move on. Again, get an instant cash offer at duncanduo.com. Just the last few weeks alone, we've bought a handful of homes. We're always looking to buy more. Instant cash offers. And again, my goal is to buy your house and close on it. There are a lot of wholesalers out there that don't have my reputation or my funds that I have backing my purchases. They're simply wanting to lock your home up, give you a fantasy land number, give you a deposit, and then they go out and shop your contract to hope to assign it to someone else that would actually close on it. We don't do that. Our goal would be to close on your house, to buy it, close on it, renovate it, and then either rent it or resell it. So speaking of renovation of homes, I've had Revive Design and Renovation on the show a couple times. And again, that's Revive Design and Renovation. You can check them out on Kennedy Boulevard. You can find them on Google. Revive, it's pretty easy. They're a great remodeling contractor. So some of the things I'm going to talk about in my next segment don't apply to them. If you want a luxurious, amazing design renovation, by someone that's going to do everything right, above the board, they're our go-to. They're who we would recommend. They do an incredible job. They do it all right, and they do a clean, quick, as quick as a contractor can be, because none of it's quick. The things I'm going to talk about, the horror stories I'm going to talk about in my next segment, don't apply to them. If you want it done right, call Revive. Finding the right contractor for renovations. Now, this is something I want to advise you. One of the worst mistakes in my entire home ownership history was doing an addition to a home that I lived in. And this is someone who has a massive amount of real estate, both renovation, sales, brokerage experience, owning multiple real estate companies. So I want to caution you that if you're thinking about doing an addition on your home, there's a cost associated that a lot of people forget. They think, okay, well, I'm going to improve my house. I'm going to make it more valuable. Instead of giving up my low interest rate, I'm going to stay in my house. I'm going to make it better instead of going and buying the other. 9 times out of 10, the customers that we worked with through the years that do an addition on their home, that live in it while the addition is going on, 9 times out of 10, they wish they hadn't. So a renovation, a little bit different. If you're doing a kitchen or a bathroom or floors, some of these things can apply to that as well. The additions are the worst part of it, though. So you want to make sure that you're going to find a contractor that's licensed, permitted, insured. You want to talk to customers who have done work for them. And let me repeat that. You want to talk to customers that have done work for them, working from a referral, asking your real estate agent, asking us. Again, you heard me talk about Revive. They don't really do additions, though, and this is probably why. Additions are challenging. They always take longer. They cost more. It's a nuisance. Your home is your paradise. You work all week and you come home on the weekend, but guess what? They're still there. They're working. They're showing up at 5 a.m. and jackhammering around while you're trying to sleep in on your Saturday. They're having your dogs bark. They're interrupting you. They're showing up when you don't expect it. You basically lose the privacy and control of your home. And so if you're going to do an addition, first off, I'm going to recommend against it. I'm going to encourage you, instead of doing the addition, to really think twice about the inconvenience it causes, because you don't know what you're walking into. If you've not done an addition before, I promise you it is going to be way worse than you think going through it. Most of the time, it's not worth it, especially if you have to live in the home. Now, if you can go stay somewhere else, or you travel a lot, you travel during the week, you live alone, if you have a family and animals and you do an addition on your house and you're going to be opening it up to contractors all the time, absolute nightmare. Let me repeat that. Absolute nightmare. Sell your house and go buy a house of the one that you want. And you may say, oh, I don't have to pay commission twice. You are literally going to live in hell for months and months and months, and it's going to cost you more than you think. It's going to cost you more than the commission and closing costs you're trying to save by doing 2 real estate transactions and moving. Moving is quick compared to dealing with the consequences of giving up control of your house, giving up access, the violations of your privacy, the constant interruptions, the stuff that's the coronas that are left all over your all over your garage, all over your yard. It is a nightmare. I cannot recommend enough that if you're thinking about doing an addition, if your spouse is thinking about doing an addition, go onto my website, go onto our podcast, play this episode for him. Hundreds of customers through the years have done additions. Very rarely are any of them happy, especially while they live in the home. The only time they ever are happy, the only time that they're ever happy is when they don't spend a lot of time at home. That's it. Outside of that, it is way more painful than you're expecting. You're going to tell the construction company, who generally is going to use labor that isn't their own labor, they're going to sub it out. All these construction companies don't have a bunch of labor on staff. They don't have a bunch of employees. They sub everything out. They take your job, they take a VIG, they take a percentage off, and then they hire out other people to do the actual work. They have no control over these people. They're going to say, hey, we need you to go do this. Well, these people are literally going to show, I'm telling you right now, they're going to show up whenever you tell them not to. You can say, hey, I don't want you working Saturday at 5 o'clock in the morning. They're going to show up Saturday at 5 o'clock in the morning. Hey, I want you to pick up your beer cans. They're going to leave their beer cans. I'm 100% telling you, it is like hell on earth living in a home that you're having an addition done on. So sell your house, buy another one. The second thing that I would tell you to do if you're thinking about hiring a contractor, don't rely on reviews. Get referrals from actual customers that you can speak to. Reviews can be slanted. Reviews can be fake. AI can fake them. They can hire people and literally, they can be faked. Talk to someone that has worked with that contractor. Ask them for recommendations. Make sure that you're not just talking to their buddy. You should be able to go online and look up the person's home and see that contractor actually did work on their home. Make sure you're talking to people, because again, contractors are almost, especially with an addition, they're definitely going to overpromise and underproduce. They're going to tell you we're going to be done in 3 months. Double it. It's going to be 6. They're going to tell you the price, add 50%. It's going to be more. Most contractors are really good at selling you the job and then not executing. Are there some great ones? Of course, Revive for us on renovation work does a great job, but they don't do additions. Now let's talk about the next things you need to look at. So again, talking to actual customers, don't just rely on reviews. You want to look at the quality of work. You want to stay local. You want to confirm their insurance, secure multiple written estimates, but more than anything, seek word of mouth recommendations. And then this is an important one for contractors, okay? If it's not in writing on an actual contract form, it does not exist. Well, I told them that they couldn't come on Saturday. That will not get relayed to the people doing work. If you don't want them coming on Saturday, it should be in the contract. If you want it done by a certain date or they have to pay you, it needs to be in the contract. I am at the point now where I have commitment dates. When are you going to be done? Okay, well, if you're not done by this date, what's the consequence? That's what you have to do. If you don't do those things, it will take forever. They will book other work. They will get too busy. Most contractors are absolutely horrific at booking work, getting overbooked, and then not being able to keep up. They may be good at construction, but most aren't good at running businesses. Get it in the contract. It's supposed to be this dollar amount. Get it in the contract. You don't want work on these dates. Get it in the contract with a penalty. You want to be able to have something to show them. You cannot rely on word of mouth. I told them not to show up on Saturday. I promise you, when that contractor hires a subcontractor to come out and do work, they didn't they looked for the cheapest guy because they're trying to make a profit. They didn't make sure to tell that person. They're not going to communicate to that person to not go to your house on Saturday at 6 a.m. They're not. Got to have it in the contract. And there needs to be consequences in the contract. It needs to be done by this date or X. No Saturday or X. No this or X. It really does need to be specific. And I hate to say it, but I've seen it happen far too many times where people get taken advantage of by contractors. The last thing you need to do is you need to verify that they actually are a contractor. This is a mistake I made early in my career. I hired a guy to work on a home that I was renovating that was not an actual licensed contractor. He had done a bunch of work for other people I knew, so I assumed that he was. Well, come to find out he was not, and it caused all kinds of problems with permitting and issues to the point where he wasn't licensed. It cost me a lot of money to repair that. Again, make sure that you're dealing with someone licensed and insured. Verify all this information. Verify who the actual contractor license is under, and then get everything in writing. Get the financial structure, how much you're supposed to pay and when, and their obligations are, what your requirements are. If you expect that you want a certain type of floor and a certain type of flooring, and it shows up and you don't like it, but it's not in the contract, guess what? They may not be obligated to change anything. If the language isn't clear enough in the contract of the type of flooring that was supposed to be used, including images, you're in trouble. So when you're dealing with contractors, you have to understand that a lot of them aren't really good at business. They're really good at construction. You're going to have to bring the business element to check off boxes. You may have they may do really, really good work. And I've dealt with this a lot. They do really, really good work, but they're terrible at business and terrible with details and terrible with schedules. You have to iron that out and make sure your expectations are set. And those expectations should be set in the contract. If it's not in the contract with dealing with contractors, it doesn't exist. And guess what? If they're not an actual contractor, you've got a contract that isn't even enforceable because they're not even licensed. So again, a lot of mistakes people make. It's why I strongly recommend if you're going to do an addition on your house, it takes so much. And there's so many things that get done sloppy when you don't do it right. We've seen additions where, they did like really low quality work and they're like, well, I spent $100,000 on this addition. Well, somebody's going to come in and want to tear it out because it's a horrible job. Like you're creating all this extra risk. And when things aren't done right, you didn't really add the value that you thought you'd add. You wasted a whole lot of time. And now someone's going to devalue that space because it wasn't done appropriately because corners were cut. So hopefully that helps. Again, sell your house, buy another one, call the Duncan Duo, theduncanduo.com.